Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. I have today the honor, the privilege, and the pleasure to represent the mayor and governor of the city of Vienna, who unfortunately could not come and ask me to do this. And since I'm also in charge for years as an elected member of the city council and the regional parliament for smart cities and city development. Actually, I got a finished speech, which I could just read it, but I decided maybe to skip it and try maybe to share with you my ideas due to the discussions that I heard before. And as my colleague mentioned, that Vienna has got a lot of rankings and prizes, being the most livable city in the world due to the Economist. The Mercer study votes for us since years that we're #1 in life quality. We're the greenest cities. There's a lot of awards. We have also one very bad award. We're also the most unfriendly city in the world. So this is not a reputation that we should also work on that also. The question is, did we make our policy to get these awards? Was this the target? No. The target was to find solutions for our population, for the people. And then the result was having these awards. And we frankly were, of course, very glad and honored to have these awards, because this award shows a recognition of the way we've done, is a confirmation that the path we walked on was the right one, and is on the other side also a mandate to continue on that. But the problem is that the challenges of the cities are growing. Yeah? I can remember when I started in my politician work, our challenge is that we're an enlarging city. This is funny, you are talking now, and this is the thing that shows me that's true, that the challenges of a growing city, it's much easier than the challenges of declining cities. And you see Budapest is thinking now how to solve the problem of declining. Because we decided in Vienna to be 50% green yards. We have a very important and famous thing that we are the capital of affordable or social housing in the world, and how to manage to keep these 50% green yards and still keep the high life quality. And then at the end, we had to decide to be more density in building, but density not in reducing the green yards, but to build a little bit higher. This is one of the questions you're also discussing. Is higher building something bad, or is it something good? But you can indeed build higher and still increase the life quality in this situation. And I think the thing is, and this is the most important thing, is that you have to have a vision. And I think it's very important a society that don't deliver a vision would leave a generation without perspectives. And this is really terrible. And these challenges we saw grows. Now we had the challenge of pandemic. We have then the challenge of inflation, of the climate crisis, about decarbonization, now how to reduce the heat. Usually 40 years ago when I studied civil engineering, we were talking how to combat the cold, how to make our buildings in this way done. And then what is smart? What is a smart city? You have to deliver a vision, what you're talking about, because we don't understand smart city as a city where the refrigerator is automatically be filled by something automatically. Our vision is of smart city, and this is the most focused thing, is to be a social city. So the social component, and the former mayor used to say a very important thing, that Vienna should be a city where everybody can afford to live in when he wants to live or she wants to live there. So it's not a city only for the rich, only for the wealthy people. So one of the most important things was now the famous 15-minute city. We used to call it all the time the city of short distances. And one of the things is also the non-consumption area, to be an inclusive city for everybody. So the beautiful areas in the city should not only be available for people who can afford to pay to sit in these restaurants to enjoy the Danube, for example, but should also be possible to sit on the Danube and bring their sandwiches or the drinks with them and also enjoy these beautiful places of the city. So these are the very most important thing. And then at the end, we decided there is 3 columns for the smart city strategy. One of it is the social component and the life quality. The second thing is the conservation of resources and national resources. And the conservation of resources is also the ground where we can build new places, because Vienna is not, we cannot exceed it. There is borders having that. And the third thing is focusing on innovation and of endeavor and research that could help find all these solutions for the city. One thing is, of course, difficult to compare cities and mayors, and since I am an elected member of the communal government in Vienna, and that's why talking about mayors, all mayors in the world have not the same legal frames. So it's impossible sometimes and unfair to say, why is the mayor of Vienna so successful and I don't know, the mayor of Baghdad is not so successful. If that one mayor is only responsible for the garbage and for the green yards and for cleaning the streets, and the mayor in Vienna has in his competences also the public transportation, the social housing, the medication, the hospitals, the nurseries, the kindergartens, the school. Of course, if you have a system that you can try to do all these things together, it's easier to shape the policy of a city. And if I watched the discussions before, it seems in Budapest not so, the government, the federal government could intervene. There is investors, they can decide, the city don't want, the city wants. So there is no really boundaries where you can say, he's the one who, they are responsible for that. So this is a thing that is, I think, very important worldwide. That's why Benjamin Barber once said, if mayors could rule the world, and he came to the result that it would be a paradise, because mayors are more near to the people and to the population, and they have maybe better solutions than big governments who maybe could follow other things. Talking about life quality, one of the important things that is in Vienna unique is the social or affordable housing. This is a thing we had already historically got. So after the collapse of World War II, and for you, just for the history, Vienna was the most terrible place to live. They had 10 people were living on 30 square meters. 95% of the flats didn't have water and not even closet. The tuberculosis illness used to be the Viennese sickness or illness they called at that time, and even they were not even renting flats; they were renting beds, the bed gear. So that was a terrible start. And then in the year from the 1919, the First World War, not the Second World War, and then from the First World War to the Second World War, Vienna started. This is the 100th year of Red Vienna, where the Social Democrats came to power. They started to build about 65,000 projects that became the beginning of the community building. And now the city of Vienna owns about 250,000 flats that belongs to us, at the city. And then we have about 13 non-profit developers. What means not profit? Of course, they make a profit, but the profit is not shared by owners. The profit is reinvested in new projects. And so 61% of all Viennese lives either in a flat that belongs to the city of Vienna or is subsidized by the city of Vienna. 61%. It doesn't mean that 61% of the Viennese are poor and they need it and they can afford to live it, but 61% lives in this affordable social housing with a very high quality of living. And now we even implemented a new law. If any investor comes and wants to, from the city to have a rezoning of a place to build a new project, if this project has more than 500 living units, 2/3 of this new project has to be offered or sold by the measures of affordable housing. 2/3. And 1/3, then he can make what he wants with it. And that's why we managed to reduce the price of the grounds. And even I am myself, I try always also not to sell the ground, but just to rent it for 100 years. So that would reduce the costs of construction and keep it at the end in the hands of the public place and the government and the city. So the idea and the ideology is it a duty for a community or for a city to provide ownership, or is it our thing is to provide shelter? I don't mean shelter with just under a bridge, but to provide a very nice, beautiful place to live. But it's not my duty to provide this ownership where he can rent it, he can sell it, he can make a lot of profit. If he wants to buy it, it's okay, but it's then his business. But our business is to provide this possibility for them. And that's why for trying to combat all the climate challenges that we have also to work within the city planning and development. So by greening, by unsealing, this is one of the most challenges now, raus aus den Asphalt, out of asphalt, trying to make more green area, even the sponge principle for the trees to have enough place and water inside so they can really flourish and all these things to do. What about innovation? Innovation is how you attract the best people to come to your city, and even in your film you are talking about how to keep young people in Budapest and not to lose them. There is an Arabic saying which is the ability to ask or to raise the right question is already half of the answer. That's why when I was 4 months ago in Seoul, because Vienna got a very famous, one of our famous, how do you call it, awards, and they were very interesting. The questions that they asked the mayors, 4 of them was. One of them was the first question is, how can mayors forge inclusive societies and empower communities? And the answer of us in Vienna, and this is maybe one of the examples that we can maybe share, is in 2 parts. Inclusivity through services of general interest. That means Vienna had never made the mistake to privatize all the so-called public utilities or any services that are important for the general public, such as public transportation, water, even the electricity and the energy. Well, of course, it's liberalized in the European Union, but Vienna is the city of Vienna is one of the most providers of that. Healthcare, because this is very important to have a policy that you could keep a very high quality standards, non-discriminatory coverage of the entire city. You know, if it's privatized, then some places where it's not affordable to keep a public transportation. You don't have it anymore. Water can be only drinking by people who are wealthy, and the possibility to provide targeted support for vulnerable groups. For example, in Vienna, when we decided that we froze the rents for our public housing, or gave subsidized for those people living there, or even subsidizing their electricity bill. This is possible if you are the owner of these things. So this is, I think, one of the most important things. And the second thing is the inclusively through participations and empowerment, the participation of the people, so they have the feeling that they can shape the city, they can talk about it. We had many such projects, as in the Maria-Hilfer-Straße and Gumpendorfer-Straße, where the people were able to reshape the street. We had it in Rotneusiedl. It's a very big place where we were making a big city development place, where the people talked about how these houses should be, and even very small initiatives where we provided some subsidies for initiatives to make a green small island in the street. I don't know, with 5,000 euro, then they built some wood chairs and some umbrellas and green. So the people were meeting at the evening, having dinner on the street. Of course, some parking spaces disappeared, but if you do look at the street, the high quality of life and the interaction between the neighborhood increased, and people had the feeling they're living in a place where they like to be, their kids could play there, and so on. These are, for example, one of the things. The second thing is, the second question that was asked is the soul of the city. How can mayors conserve cultural and heritage? This is a challenge we have in Vienna. As I knew that Budapest has also the discussions with the UNESCO, we have it also. We are enlisted on the red list because of a project we have there. And how you could make the balance to keep the heritage and the historic sites, but at the same time to communicate that we're not living in a museum. The city is vibrant, the city is developing. We have a lot of students, international headquarters. The architect will talk today about the United Nations Center in Vienna. And this is a balance you have to do, and you have to implement in your legal frames a management plan to convince the UNESCO that we are in care of all these concerns, but we also have to develop our city in using democratic decisions that is made by the people and by the city council. One of the very important challenges is how the mayors accelerate decarbonization and strengthen the climate resilience. This is also really a very big challenge. One of the things is that in Vienna we use the district heating. By the incineration of our waste and our garbage, we heat and cool about 30% of all the city, and about 358,000 households, 7,000 big customers as the general hospital. But we also had the good luck that we could use geothermal energy. We found a big 3 kilometers deep, big water heating place under Vienna, and we are implementing now a geothermal project that will supply 120,000 flats or households in Vienna by using the geothermal heat. And we are, of course, accelerating the solar power offensive, using all the Dach, I don't know, the roofs, yeah, the roofs, thank you. The roofs of all these buildings, and our our aim is to have 800 megawatt peaks by 2030, and trying to have the initiative Raus aus den Gas, out of gas, so that by 2040 the per capita CO2 emissions in the transport sector fall by 50%, and by 2030, by 2040 by 100%. So being emission neutral and trying to go out of all these fossil energies. And the last question and the fourth question is, how can mayors facilitate and promote innovation and creativity? Of course, by implementing, we have also, like you, the business agency in Vienna. We have a lot of initiatives trying to make it very easy for people who would come and try to implement something to find a place in Vienna, and also through international exchange. We have about 162 congresses that occur in Vienna annually, and this international congresses enables a lot of exchange. We have 20 universities in Vienna, 250,000 students. The 20th university, by the way, is the CEU that came to Vienna. We are very proud that you chose all Vienna for these things. And this you can only achieve if you have the so-called soft facts, because investors, universities, endeavors come only to a city if the other things are working: social security, safety, all these things that happen at the end. I was last week, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, in Dubai by international conference, and of course nobody could say that Dubai is not wow with all its intelligent facilities. Myself, I experienced a very interesting thing. During the conference, I got a heart attack, and they managed to survive my life within 90 minutes. So they took me, and I was in the hospital. And you see, I'm standing here. It's nobody saying that. And so it's fascinating. But the thing is, if you talk then to some people there and say, oh, how is the life here? And say, oh, fantastic. We're really very glad. There's only one thing. The living conditions are very expensive, so I have to live in the Sharjah in Ajman. This is 2 Emirates. Then it's cheaper. Okay, then this is the solution. So no, it's not the solution, because every day I take 2 hours in the traffic jam, because everybody comes from there and everybody goes back. So I thought, okay, living conditions, the prices of housing is a problem that affects the people, the mobility, how they get there. Yeah, and then the school, because the kindergarten of my kid is on the other side. They have to travel every day 40 minutes there and 40 minutes back. So talking about the 15-minute city. Healthcare is fantastic, but of course it's not very affordable. So you have to earn a lot of money. So if you are wealthy, then it's okay. If not, it depends how the insurance is. And then what's the education of my kids? What's about when I become 65, do I have a rent, to have a social security? So these are the things that people really takes with them, and this is the thing that make them at the end satisfied, happy, in a good life quality, yes and no. It's not only the green yards alone, it's not only smart solutions that help them. I think it's a very, very big and whole solutions. And at the end, that's why when the Secretary of State said that we could learn from Vienna, I once was very impressed by Confucius. He said once, there are 3 ways of dealing right. The first way is by thinking themselves and find the solution. This is the most ideal and the most fantastic thing. The second thing is by copying. and looking at the solution the other done and using it. This is the easiest way. And the third way is by mistakes, and this is the most harmful and painful way. So it's maybe better to copy from somewhere, learn from the mistakes, and maybe think innovative for a new solution. There's only 14 seconds left, so I have a Punktlandung. I hope that I didn't read it and just thought with you my thoughts was maybe more effective than reading something that I didn't write myself. I hope you are satisfied and not disappointed. Thank you for inviting me and looking forward to be with you again. Thank you.